And welcome into the Loochador Podcast here after the loss to Texas here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. The show is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. How about their outdoor Christmas market collection? You can also get Mossy Oak Snowdrift camo style dresses. You've got everything you want. You can get it fast at academy.com. Let your holiday fun begin with the Magellan Outdoor Christmas Market Collection only at Academy. I'd like to welcome in our huge audience from Austin watching the show today. They love to, we were asked so many questions about, where's your post-game show? What you guys didn't even do? You didn't tweet. I never tweet unless it's like game day. And we did our post-game show.
I never tweet either.
Interesting.
Yeah, we don't do that around here. No, I actually.
You do X.
I actually don't. I don't do X. I don't
like the Twitter
I don't
X.
do drugs, unlike what the Texas people say about me. A game like that will drive you to it.
I thought about it.
But I actually, if people don't notice, and people that follow me understand, win or lose, I typically don't tweet during games. Every once in a while, if I'm not at a game, a road game, I'm at home. Even then, I try to refrain because, you know, at halftime, I would have been talking about how good I felt about 10-3
with the ball.
With the ball coming out, felt like A&M. I wouldn't say in control, but they were they had completely shut down really the Texas offense in the first half, minus a couple of nice arch scrambles. Other than that, I mean, if you're A&M defense, you had to feel great. If you were offense, it felt like maybe we're starting to get it going. We settled down a little bit. You're up 10-3. You're sitting there going, man, if Marcel doesn't get hurt on that play, maybe we end up scoring there, and it could be a 14-3 game. You felt good. So if I would have been actively commenting on X during that half, then that would have been a nice colossal backfire. That's why I typically don't during games. And then after the game, I hate to break it to y'all, but I was enjoying your city. I do. It's not like I'm going to go into a complete shell after a game, no matter how pissed off I am. It's like that's not going to change the outcome of the game. So I actually did stay down there in Austin. It was, really, if I was tweeting, which I don't have to because I'm coming on today, and then for those of you that want to see, it going south another way for me, you can watch the podcast tonight, Moving Goalposts, which a lot of people, in fairness, a lot of Aggies and Longhorns came up to me during the weekend saying they watched that one and enjoy it. So that'll be fun regardless. Maybe more fun for one side than the other. And that was how the game went Friday night.
Yep.
It was a really bad second half after a really bad first half against South Carolina. So, I think what they did, Nuño, just the more I think about this game, and some people aren't going to want to hear this, but I think it reminded me some of the South Carolina game last year. It reminded me of LSU at Kyle Field last year, where you let a home crowd in the SEC become a factor and become a real factor. So for all you Longhorns that are waiting for credit, and for any Aggies that don't want to hear any credit given, I'm going to say they let the crowd become a real factor. I was standing in front of the Texas students with some former Aggie players, with some former Longhorn players, interestingly enough, and ones that I've known since recruiting and really like. We're all sitting there talking, and even those former Texas players are saying this is the loudest this place has ever been. And it was pretty damn loud on the sideline. You give them credit, but you also understand that if you took that opening drive of the third quarter, went down and scored, and it was 17-3, all of those people that went to that game thinking, man, A&M's 11-0, we're really not very good. You confirm that to them, they get a hell of a lot quieter. And A&M did that in Baton Rouge to a team that was 5-2 and ranked around where Texas was. They did that when they went up to Missouri. They didn't do it at Notre Dame. It was just such a close game, but they went on the road and won and executed down the stretch. They did none of those things on Saturday night, but it really was, I think, at halftime, coming out, you had a real opportunity to let that crowd not be a factor, and you let them get into it, and you started seeing mistakes by A&M and false starts, and it got really loud on those 3rd and 4th and shorts, and every play Texas had felt like it was even bigger crowd reaction, how much the players were feeding off of it. And it did. It felt a lot like A&M in South Carolina, where it just started to snowball and become unraveled. And again, that's a credit to the other team.
Yeah.
And it's also, though, like, it's not saying, well, Texas didn't play good. It's saying you didn't do what you could have done when you had the opportunity in a 60-minute game to put the real pressure and stress on them, and as a result, it ended up on you, and you started seeing A&M do the uptight pressure things that tend to happen when you're on the road in the SEC, and momentum's building against you. And my biggest disappointment is it just didn't feel like the team on so many levels that we'd seen all year, and a large part of it was that. But then there's other things as well where I just thought, like they didn't play, and some of that credit goes to Texas for the way they played, but it just felt I wasn't watching the A&M that we watched all season.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can take this in multiple areas.
Yeah,
but
there's a million ways to go.
But I guess to kind of build upon that, the second half, I will give credit to Sark and that Texas team for making adjustments that worked in the second half, because they found some rhythm running the ball.
Yeah.
Arch started getting a little bit more comfortable when they ran the ball more. It opened up their pass game, and then A&M felt like they were on skates for part of that second half.
Yeah, they felt on their heels, and you wonder, when did that start? Now, defensively, I don't know what adjustments really. I mean, obviously everybody makes them at halftime, but the Aggie offense wasn't like rolling in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do much of anything in the first half. Second half,
third quarter, they did nothing.
Well, third quarter, nothing, and that was a killer. Some of the penalties were really costly on short yardage. Even a couple were like, I think they were going to go for it on 2 4th downs. And once you had the false start, another one, they took the delay of game. They were going to go for it on that one too. So 2 4th and 1s, or 4th and 1, 4th and 2, you were going to go for it. Now, you could not get it, and then it turns out to be even worse. But if you get those two, you never even had the chance to because of a false start, because you were slow getting everything lined up and the checks and everything, and you took a delay. Those were really costly. That run and 2 plays by Arch, and I don't. This is where I'm not going to give. Because I'm going to say this. I thought Arch Manning played a really tough game. I mean, not tough like he got beat up and pummeled. He didn't. That was another thing. They didn't get the pressure on him you thought. But he took some hits. They got some pressure, but it wasn't like you expected.
Half, the second quarter felt like a lot more than any other.
Yeah, it felt like you were getting it going. But Texas, they did, and I want to talk about some of the things Texas did that they haven't done all year, and why I think that's an indictment, on how A&M played. But I'm not going to give Arch too much credit on 2 of his biggest plays. Over the course of the game, I'm going to give him credit. I thought he managed the game. He handled he did a lot of what he didn't do against Ohio State, which he managed the game. He handled the ebbs and flows. He hung in there, and he made the huge play at the end, which was a terrific run by him. And he made several great scrambles there that I think kept A&M a little off balance, even though they weren't scoring in the first half. If he doesn't do that, then it might be 17-3 at halftime, or freaking 20-3, or 17-0 at halftime. But he kept some things going with his legs. So this is not like a discredit what he did. But the 2 biggest plays from him that really changed the game in the third quarter was the touchdown throw to Wingo. That, if you watch that play, he did a job of like scrambling. It was a complete bust. It wasn't that he scrambled around, and then some guy got lost.
Right.
He got like behind it. That was a complete coverage bust on that one. And then on the pass to Andrews that ended up taking them down to the 2. Like, the Aggies were playing plenty good defense there till that point where he gets down, it's still going to be hard for them to punch in touchdowns. Like, they could do bend but don't break. It was going to be hard for Texas to punch in touchdowns. And that play to Andrews, to get that from where he got it all the way down to the 2, they left him completely uncovered on that one. That was just a nightmare play. Those 2 were absolute coverage busts. And then I think, to give them credit, the third biggest play of the game when Texas had the ball was Cassius Howell jumps off sides. It was Howell, right?
Mm-hmm.
On 3rd and 8. I don't think, and Texas is up 20-17. I don't think Texas runs that play on 3rd and 8. They run it on 3rd and 3. They motion that tight end. I thought that was a terrific play call.
Mm-hmm.
I called the other 2 busts. Now I'm going to give credit. I thought that was a terrific play call, and that was it didn't end the game, but it changed the game pressure 1,000%, because the Aggies had kind of gotten momentum. There was a little unease in the crowd, and then you had a really bad illegal block on the kicking team, which is rare, but if you see it, it was a penalty. You thought they were getting the ball at the 10. They ended up out at the 40. The refs screwed that up. That was just a mess with our heads. But for them to get the ball there and then quickly score like that, that was kind of it essentially was the ender, even though it really wasn't, but it felt like it. And that was a great play call and a great run by Art. Showed off real speed. Like, that's great. Those were the plays that really did it. And then I think especially the first run by Wisner, which I felt like got everyone on their heels. Even though Texas didn't score there, right? No, they kicked the field goal.
Kicked the field goal.
That play seemed to it put A&M, you said it earlier, it put them on their heels. And that was you can see what happened there, on Yedem, who's had a great year. I think he's had a terrific year. He takes the wrong gap, gets his head where it shouldn't be. You had Sanford here, you had Lee here, but that backside is pretty open when they were overcommitted to strong side. And he put his head in the wrong gap. Boom, there's the hole. Boom, what was that, a 50-yard run?
48 yards.
48, yeah. So it's just a few plays, but we've been used to seeing A&M make those plays. So you credit Texas for making them. But when you're watching it, you're like, God dang, that was so preventable. 3 of those 4 were so preventable. And then the 4th one was probably preventable if you put them in a 3rd and 8 as opposed to a 3rd and 3.
Yeah.
Where they're probably going to say, we're going to try a play here, but we can't lose yards, get it out of Arch's hands quickly, kick a field goal, and go up 6. Or get half of it back and maybe go for it. I don't think they call that run on 3rd and 8. So a lot of things you can be kicking yourself for, but none of that involved what was going on when A&M had the ball. And I thought the Aggie offense, I know Texas has a good defense, and on that night when they're feeding off, this is what worried you. They're feeding off that crowd energy. Yeah. And Colin Simmons is a game wrecker. They got other pass rushers, and you're like, this is, you don't want them to feed off that and do that. A&M just never felt like they were truly in attack mode offensively against Texas. Marcel seemed not himself even before the injury.
He seemed tentative to run.
Just tentative to run. They weren't cutting it like those deeper crossers. And it just didn't feel the same. I didn't feel like A&M when they had the ball were never felt like the aggressors. And if you look at that Texas defense, and I understand, I was down there and you could feel the energy, you could tell the emotion of the Texas players, and when you're on defense, you feed off that. We see that every week here at Kyle Field. I mean, look at the A&M defense in the second half of the South Carolina game; they're just unstoppable, feeding off that energy, and quarterbacks get flustered and things like that. Protections, you could tell A&M had a hard time with the snap count and the claps. It was it was hard.
Yeah.
You could tell that was screwing things up. And again, it's credit. This is road in the SEC. It's why it's hard to win. That's why when you do win, you're impressed, and it kind of adds it's like a double victory, in terms of like what they were able to show. But offensively, I thought they never felt right. They never got it going. And again, you like credit Texas, but you also have a year's worth of evidence. And I don't know, like the people covering Texas have been real smug and, loving life the last couple of days, which we would do the same to an extent, not to a further extent. I don't think we would post, have we ever reposted like clips of opposing shows and what they're saying? I don't think we do that. Retweet. Yeah,
no, I sometimes will respond to it on the show, but I don't.
Yeah. Well, so what's the difference? Who gives a damn? I'll retweet.
I don't remember saying anything about any Texas shows.
I'll retweet people's stuff that they say and do. So
and I did put the post of the overrated chance.
So I'm not going to be too offended or just beside myself over that. But I will say, like, that defense is not. Look, there's a reality, and you can say emotion and da-da-da. 37 to Arkansas. Well, they got a late touchdown. Well, also, Taylor Green was out the whole second half. 37 to Arkansas, 35 to Georgia, 31 to Vandy, and 38 to Mississippi State. And those are your last X number of games. For you to go out and score 17 on them is a failure. Period. And like, even with all those things that Texas offense was doing, I get it, like all games are different. And that one took on more of a defensive type football game. And that's what happens a lot of times in rivalry games because everyone's fighting so hard to not give you that yard. But A&M should have offensively, I thought, done a better job of imposing their will on a defense that has yielded to to varying degrees to each of the last four opponents they'd faced prior to A&M. So from that standpoint, I think, the offense was a big letdown in that one. And then obviously second half defense. And it wasn't because the defense was tired in the second half. It wasn't like Texas had worn them down. Right. So both sides we talk about team wins and stuff. That was a team loss. You got a field goal block. The field goal kicking is an absolute nightmare right now. I don't know what's going on.
Special teams.
And that block, like that kick wasn't going in anyway. It was so.
Tyler White almost got blocked.
Yeah, he did.
It was actually his best punt, I think, of the night. But
Tyler's not, it's not happening there like we thought this year either. So yeah, the kicking game. It's the kicking game. Concepcion almost had another one today. Yesterday. They did a great job of containing Niblett.
Yeah.
So part of that, on this one, in terms of Tyler White, I will say part of that is you are trying to punt in a way that contains Ryan Niblett, and they did a good job of that. He had one that got the crowd fired up, but it wasn't very far. He had a 22-yard punt return actually, but for him to touch the ball 3 times on returns and end up with about 50 yards on 3 returns, you did okay. You did fine. But yeah, the kicking game's a nightmare. Run defense is a continued problem because Texas doesn't run, again, like their defense. They don't run against anyone all year. I get there's an exception or two. You guys know what I'm talking about. They don't run against anyone. And then they go for, Wisner goes for 155. And they run for 200 plus again.
218.
They do that again. So, Texas didn't do that all year. For the last 5 games, they're not holding teams to 17 points. I know they're at home and it's a rivalry. I get it. That doesn't explain it off enough. You didn't come out and perform, and I thought Texas kind of handled the moment and magnitude of that game better for the second year in a row. Last year they were
better team.
I know what Texas fans will say now. We're a better team Friday night. You were the better team Friday night.
No doubt.
You have not been the better team this year. You are not the better team this year. Don't give me your shit.
You guys didn't play anybody.
Yeah, don't give me your shit about that because you lost to one of the same teams A&M played, or you would be in the playoffs with real hope right now. But you're not. You won't be, almost certainly, because you couldn't beat a team that A&M handled. And also, you're struggling to move up and stuff when you're going to overtime against Kentucky, who lost 41-0 to Louisville and Mississippi State. You were playing bad for a period of time this year, and it cost you and kept you out of the playoffs. So during the year, Texas A&M is a better football team this year. Last year, Texas was a lot better than A&M throughout the year. What you'd hoped is A&M would have done what Texas did Friday night, which is ride that momentum of this home crowd. And the Aggies tried to do it. It was too little, too late there midway through the fourth quarter. Texas got that going midway through the third. And that makes a big difference. Makes a big difference. And you could tell where the Kyle Field crowd was getting to Ewers and the Texas offense there in the fourth quarter. Texas started that a few minutes into the third.
If you would have told me that A&M gave up only 17 points to that Texas team last year, and all of that in the first half, right?
Yeah.
And they gave up 27 this week with the way the season's gone, and oh, by the way, 24 of those in the second half, I would have never believed it.
If you would have told me, David, that Texas was going to score 27,
I would have thought we'd won 31-27.
Yeah, and that was kind of my pick. It was like 30-24. But what I also would have told you was, damn, they must have been getting behind our guys and hitting some big shots. I wouldn't have thought it'd be on the running game, catch and run by Andrews. Like I would have thought it would be more of those deep balls connecting and them just, hitting some play action or fake the bubble and hit it, or you miss a tackle on a bubble and Wingo goes 40, like things like that. And a lot of that generally didn't happen. I'm looking at this. Texas kicks the field goal. A&M gets the ball. There was a 3rd and 2 there on their second drive of the third quarter. This is one of my ones I hated. When Marcel shot a 3rd and 2 from your own 30, and I get like you go for the shot play.
Yeah.
But I would have loved to have seen that on 2nd and 6, not 3rd and 2. You take that shot, it's incomplete, you punt, and then they get the ball back, and that's when they go down and score and take the lead. And then you get to midfield. Well, first of all, you couldn't convert a 3rd and 1 at midfield. You got stuffed on that one. Again, you're trying to go down and retake the lead. You're trying to go down. You have 50 yards to go. You have, I don't know how a field goal will go, but you had, 30 yards to go, 25 yards to get a field goal and tie it. And you have 3rd and 1, and you can't get the yard. And then 4th and 1, and you get the false start penalty. And then you punt it. They go down, and they go down again and score. Well, there was the play. Was it the last play of the third? Yeah. 54 yards to Andrews. That, to me, was maybe the play of the game. Because it's only 13-10, and he goes 54 to end the third quarter, and it just felt, didn't it just feel like it was like, man.
But you still had your chances.
Yeah, you did, but it just felt like you got a mountain.
But I agree with you. Yes.
Mountain to climb here. And by the way, that was on the 2nd and 12.
Yeah.
So they're behind the sticks there. Yeah, that was the play of the game, in my opinion. But again, like, I'll say this too, Texas, I thought they generally just their demeanor, disposition, and then they held up better, which was disappointing because this team, you don't define a team by one game, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But we're starting off talking specifically about this game, so we're not getting in the big picture, but like over the whole season, A&M has done a better job of handling those moments than they did the other night. And that was where I'm like, was it the rivalry? Was it the undefeated record? Was it the SEC champion? I don't think they're not actively thinking about that in those moments. But you know how it is. They've handled pressure well all year. I didn't think they did the other night. And I don't know, as far as all that other stuff after the game, towards the end of the game, like, I don't like it. I don't like seeing someone dance on an A&M jersey. Like, What the hell are you? I will say to Texas fans, if an Aggie did that to a Longhorn jersey, the people I deal with would be apo-freaking-plectic, crying about a lack of class, and this is just disgusting, and leave it to the Aggies to do this. I don't think that way. I think it's a fight. It's like you watch UFC, and when Adesanya knocks out your boy Pereira,
Such a good fight.
and he does the arrow and then falls down to his kid. Like, you guys talked all week, the two fighters, right? You talk all week, you do all that, and then you go and knock somebody out, and it's like, you earn that. And now there's a line of like class, but like A&M talked a lot this week.
Yeah.
You know, like to varying degrees. And I'm okay with that. I'm not even saying like, oh, we should have never. It's a rivalry. Like, I want there to be hatred.
It's got to hurt.
On the field, in the press conferences. I don't want like hatred off the field between friends and fans. And no, I'm sitting down there on the sideline. It's Dante Hall, it's Johnny. Matabike's down there. I hadn't seen him in forever. That was good to see him. But then also on that same side, which was interesting the way they were down there, was Malik Jefferson, who I think is still one of my favorite Longhorns in terms of like just a dude, like a great dude. Malik, Jeffrey McCullough, for you recruiting guys would remember him. Aldine, Eisenhower came down to A&M in Texas. And Jamal Charles, you know, obviously he was with Dante, two of the Chiefs' greats, right? But everybody's sitting down there watching it together. They're rooting for their team. We're rooting for our team. We're talking about the game. No one's trash talking anybody. We're talking about the environment, you know, everything. But on the field, I want there to be hate. I want the teams to not like each other. I want Armage to not like Colin and Colin to not like Armage. I want Marcel Reed to say, we don't like him. I you know, and I don't mind Michael Taft saying, hey, I really like Marcel. Marcel didn't say, I don't like Michael Taft. He said, we don't like Texas. I'm sure he does like Michael Taft. I'm sure Arch and Marcel like, he's talked about that. But leading up to that game, that's a fight, that's a battle. And if you lose it, expect the insanity, because what do we think A&M honestly would have done if they won that football game?
Celebrated.
Elko probably would have had to do what Sark did last year.
Relax,
stay off. Don't go storm the field. Don't go get in fights. And I was down there after there's a lot of jawing. And, you know, A&M, and I was happy to see they were bitterly disappointed. There was not a lot of, you know, they don't do this in college. They weren't like, you know, the pros with the jersey swaps, and nobody was all smiles. They weren't really interested in sitting there yapping. I mean, there's some friend to friend, but like, no, get off the field, get me in this locker room, get me the hell out of here. I'm pissed. I'm okay with all that. You know, and the stupid stuff like that, like, I think I'm old man at Cloud here because every program does it, but the stuff like the video with Elko saying that and them doing the
psych.
Yeah, but like, our social media teams in all sports do that too.
Yeah.
So what? Okay, well, I'm not going to get mad on social, but I am. It's on the. That stuff doesn't bother me. So I think
I didn't like it, but I didn't think it was out of line.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I also think A&M would do similar stuff.
We did
and
it.
every college does it now. So it's just
we did it with Brady Cook talking about you know Kyle Field not being that intimidating.
Every place does it now. I'm not a huge fan of it, but you know what? Who am I? Like, the crowds love it.
Yeah.
Their crowd loved it. Kyle Field, when they did that to Brady Cook, loved it. So
they did a good job with their.
So I think they did a bad job at the post game presser. I think
can I speak on that because I was there for it?
Yeah.
Because all right, I think it was Barstool who put it out that he was mad about the celebrating of Texas fans. That's about Elko. That's not what happened at all. I'm sitting front row. I think I'm sitting with OB, and I'm literally a little bit further than you are from Elko, but I'm not that far from Elko. The door kept on open. First off, people were banging on the door.
Yeah. Well, explain that. So that's a door that was
it faces the concourse.
To the concourse where people are walking.
Right. So some of the people banging on the door were media members trying to get in because they got lost trying to get there. So it's kind of a hard setup.
By the way, that's another thing. Time out. Why you wouldn't have someone usher the visiting media down to where they're supposed to be for the post.
We had to find it. Okay. And I was following Alex Miller, who had traced his steps initially, so he knew how to find it. I would have gotten lost if Alex didn't know.
I had no idea he was such a guide.
He loves Christopher Columbus. He's a cartologist. Okay. So we're going through, and I'm like, people are like bumping shoulders. Like it's like Texas fans were, which I get it, right?
Well, I don't get that part. Everything else I said, I get.
But you get into the press room. Mike comes in. We start talking, Coach Elko, and every few seconds, people are banging on the door, and people are coming in, and then banging on the door, and not coming in, and then banging, and he's answering questions, and it's like, blah, blah, blah. And you can't hear what he's saying. And I'm like looking at Kat.
Start talking again.
And, exactly, right? But you can't hear. It's not the knocking that makes you not hear. It's the door opening. So he had 3 or 4 times, I believe, he had to restart. He was frustrated that he couldn't have a professional press conference. Yeah. That's what he was upset about. That's what we media members were upset about. And I know they did
send a security guard out there to guard that door, which I guess he just did a terrible job.
He did? I didn't know that.
Yeah. After it started.
But look, would we have been a little bit more Texas friendly had A&M won in that environment? Sure.
I don't know what your experiences were individually, but, again, I want hatred on the field. I want these teams to not like each other. I want A&M to be MFing pissed off still today. You can shake it once you go back to practice. I remember back when we were in school, and this is way different times. And look, there wasn't like Northgate. Maybe that's too big of a draw. But I remember seeing or being a part of living with some of these guys, and they lost to Texas or somebody. Maybe they lost a game, but I think it was Texas. And couple of them were kind of like getting ready to go out, and then a couple of the older guys came in there and said, "What the hell are you doing?" "Oh, we're going to go, to the tap or something." And the answer was, "We effing lost a football game. You're going to go show your face in public? Like we just lost to Texas. You're going to go out? You should be ashamed right now." And that mindset is rare these days, but I do want them to be sitting there looking the wounds a little and go, how do we fix this? Because that was unacceptable. And it felt that way when they were walking off the field. I felt like I saw a team that felt that way. And on the same token, the Texas fans and stuff, my experience, and maybe it's a little different because they'll like a lot of them through this show, which a lot of them watch, and social media. And then, I go appear on a rival podcast every week, but it's like the LSU and Texas media people you've known longer, so you're on more of their stuff. I had no one act crazy at all. In game, after the game, I walked actually with Johnny. We had to go. That's a crazy crowd to get. We walked through no one. He didn't have any incident, and he's kind of a lightning rod for that, just being him. Nothing. So at the hotel, after the game, right up until today when I left the valet, in Austin that night. It's not like, I know everybody's, out of all the Aggies there, some people had to have bad experiences. I didn't. So they're 11-1. Okay, let's move on from this now. I think we've talked about a lot of it. They're 11-1, Texas A&M. You didn't have 11-1. I didn't. Nobody did. Nobody. Not like literally no one. It sucks to have that one be Texas.
Yep.
And let me tell you what you let. And this is where I get like there's so much frustration in the A&M fan base on Friday and even into today. Texas ended your perfect season. They took down any Marcel Reed Heisman hopes, or I don't think he'll even get an invite. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think he'll get an invite. I think they needed to beat Texas. I said it all along. Beat Texas and win the SEC title game.
Or
I think he could have
really
won
good,
it.
Right?
Or looked really good, and then maybe go on to the title game even and still get it. But they ended the Heisman hopes, whether he goes there or not. They knocked you out of the SEC title game when you could have made your first ever appearance. They knocked you out of the SEC title game last year too, by the way. And, who knows if they definitely cost you I would say definitely, never say definitely, but feels like they definitely cost you a first round bye.
Yeah.
So you lost a lot on that field Friday night, but you did not lose your season. And so I think Aggie fans need to make the distinction and the separation of you did not lose your season. They're the team that's not going to the playoffs, okay? It's ironic that they're talking smack about A&M and OU still right up to the point where the selection show is going to happen, and these two teams will probably be in the playoffs, and the team that beat them won't. So it's like what you're talking about is Texas fans are doing. It's not a moral victory. They won it on the field. So we ain't calling there's no moral victory shit in that. They won it on the field against the Aggies and Sooners. But it is a consolation prize for them because OU and A&M are getting the real prize because of the seasons they had outside of that singular game. And look, we could argue all day about whether Texas should be in the playoffs or not. I'm not interested in carrying their water on that or having that argument. If someone asked me directly, we could have a discussion about it. But we're talking about A&M. So the Aggies are 11-1. No one picked them 11-1. I picked them 9-3 and to go to the playoffs as like the fifth team. We sat here, Nuño, and said, if everything went right, if this and that and that and this and the other thing all happened, could A&M be this year's Tennessee? Okay? Here's the difference. This year's A&M went 11-1. They didn't go 10-2. There was no inexplicable loss. So you talk about schedule strength all you want. Last year's playoffs had a team in Notre Dame that played for the Natty that went and got beat by Northern freaking Illinois. Okay? Last year's Tennessee team went to the playoffs. They went and got beat at Arkansas, who was a bad football team last year. Last year, Ole Miss had the best team money could buy, is what everybody told you. And they went and lost to Kentucky and didn't get in the playoffs. So those games are landmines. A&M cleared every one of them. They lost. Forget about the logo and the color and the fans and what you got to hear at work and social media. You lost to a team that's going to finish in the top 15 on the road. And that was your one loss of the season. This regular season far exceeded, it ended in just like rage-inducing disappointment, right? But the regular season was better than anyone would have dreamt of, hoped for, asked for in year two. You went 11-1. You're going to your first ever playoff for Texas A&M. That was a goal prior to the season that everyone that covers the sport and most people that are fans of the maroon and white would have said that is far-fetched. You looked at that schedule and you said that's far-fetched. And they went 11-1. So they're not last year's Tennessee because they didn't go get beat in an upset like that. And by the way, the other thing that's different is they're probably and should be, and I think certainly will be hosting a home playoff game, which is another thing Tennessee did not do. So they actually did better than what we kind of said, hey, if everything goes well, they could be this. Well, everything did go right, and they're better than that. And I think they've got more of a chance moving forward in the playoff than like a Tennessee did too. This team is still capable of beating anyone in the field on a given day. Now, what you want to do is avoid, I think, the two best teams, in my opinion, in the field as long as you can, which is Ohio State and Georgia. That Texas loss, the question is, is that going to prevent that from happening or not? It's hard to say because part of you wants to say, yeah, it certainly knocked you out of the top four, which would have prolonged that for a whole nother round. It's just too hard to predict now, but this is where the fun / annoyance / stress comes in, is like, where does A&M drop after this loss and what does their playoff path look like?
Yeah.
That was it.
Well, that was a handoff to me.
I was like, Yeah.
Or do you want to go through the scenario? Because I didn't know we were pitching back.
Yeah.
Because the way I look at it, Billy, thank you.
You're welcome.
I think they're going to fall behind 5 on Tuesday just because that's the Aggie in me, maybe. Okay. So
I agree. I think they should fall to 4. Here's the deal.
Oh, you think they should fall to 4?
No, yes, but I don't think they will. But here's the deal. Because you've got a lunkhead running the show in Jurecek, absolute lunkhead. And I'm gonna stand on that if he ever becomes AD here. Okay, we can talk about it then. I'm gonna say, hey, yeah, I did call you a lunkhead. I thought you were a lunkhead in when you led the playoff.
What is a
committee.
lunkhead, by the way?
I don't know. It just seems to fit.
It fits. Yeah.
He's a lunkhead, and meanwhile, Arkansas is hiring Silvertooth. Is that who it was? And the fans are protesting. They're hiring the Memphis head coach, and Jurecek's over here working on his next 6-7 joke, probably, and rather than hire Silvertooth because maybe I don't know, but so I do think you got a lunkhead heading up the committee of people that are incompetent, and I do think that I've got a whole thing where it's just there should be, I think, a better vetting process of trying to put the 12 best qualified people from a nice cross section of football, college football, and pick a nice cross section and really vet these people and not just go, let's do him, her, and him, and him, and her, and then, no, I think they just pick people and then people say yes, and they go, there is no way on God's green earth that you could sit there and bullshit me into thinking that they go through and select the best qualified individuals to pick this thing. So by definition, I don't trust it. And then when these yahoos like Warday Manuel, Mac Rode, and because Warday Manuel, I think that's how you say an E on the end of the name, and Hunte Jurecek, how these 3 people are put up there, and I hear them answer questions, and it tells me that it's an incompetent group. That's what when you put that person up front, that's what that tells me. So with that said, I don't know what to expect. I expect the worst. I think if you look at the metrics, contrary to what people say, A&M's strength of schedule should have gone way up in terms of playing at Texas and all these little numbers and stuff, and the win-loss and the quality of win. That Notre Dame win it's still aging very, very well. I think by resume, per their standards, and I think common sense standards, should be 4. It won't be, in my opinion. I think the question is, are they 5, 6, or even 7? And I think all of those are in play, which if you ask me to predict, I will split the difference and predict
6.
That they end up at 6. But we need to talk about that.
Let me tell you. So I'm looking at ESPN's predictions for this. They have A&M at 6. If that's the case, they would likely play Virginia, ACC.
Or Duke, whoever wins that game, yeah.
So the ACC champion at 6. If they are 5, they would get probably Tulane, right? And if they are 7, depending what happens with Alabama, they would
Alabama or OU.
Alabama or OU. Yep.
Yeah.
Crazy. Notre Dame
at
here.
Kyle Field, mind you.
Yeah. I mean,
Notre Dame is to me. Notre Dame is probably going to be 9.
Yep.
I don't think there's no more games for OU to play. I don't think they land ahead of OU.
Does Ole Miss move back now? By the way, I just got a text from Richard.
That's what's interesting.
Lane just took the job officially. It's official now.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Lane at LSU in a minute. I'll talk about Lane at LSU now. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how that goes. I know how good he is. I know what he's going to do. He's going to be a mercenary recruiter. They're going to give him the world. It all sounds well and good right now. I could see a world where Lane Kiffin wins a couple of national titles there and becomes the first one to win 2 there. I could also see a world where that backfires spectacularly. I just don't. I don't know where I land on it, but I just think the way he just did Ole Miss and handled this whole thing, and I think just the way LSU is going to just go 14 steps forward into thinking they're just the baddest ass thing ever, and just kind of overlook so much of the way that guy handles himself and acts, and the rest of the SEC is going to have to deal with it now to a whole magnified level. I just have. It's just like, let's just see how that goes for him, because there's always sports karma. There's always football. Like leaving Ole Miss that way. What does that do? And then I don't blame LSU for hiring him. That's a home run hire on paper. I just have a weird suspicion that that'll be interesting to watch, and it's going to be, frankly, I think, fun dealing with. As much annoyance as he causes, I want A&M. I wish he was coming to Kyle Field next year. They got to go to Baton Rouge, but
wait, next year? Oh, because the schedule changes. Yeah.
So, anywho, I think it's a great hire for LSU. I'm not sold that it's gonna play out the way everybody thinks.
Says he tried to finish the season at Ole Miss. This is what Richard sent me, the paraphrase. But his request to do so, as well as players requesting the same, was denied by the AD.
Screw him. Like, kudos to the Ole Miss AD. I see stuff that says, no, this is a chance for them to win a national championship. This never comes along for Ole Miss or these kids. Let him stay. Dude, that guy is, whether he pretended to stay there or not, everyone at Ole Miss knows his true colors. So in no world do you want a snake in the building. He's going to recruit whoever he wants on your roster to go play at LSU next year in your conference to rip apart and decimate your roster. He's going to undermine whatever it is that Pete Golding tries to do. In no world would I want that man in that building another day. You offered him the world to stay. You gave him everything he wanted and needed to make Ole Miss relevant. So, like, both sides should shake each other's hand. They should thank Lane Kiffin. Mm-hmm. And Lane Kiffin should thank them. And walk out that door, and I hope to never see or talk to you again. It's over, man. You picked them over us. You picked them over your current team that had a chance to do something special, and who knows, still could, but had a chance to do something special. And you're going to come and try to rip apart our roster or pick the best parts of it and leave us decimated for the next guy. That's your goal. That's what you're going to try to do well at your next job. And I don't even blame Lane Kiffin for that, because that is the world of college sports. Yeah. I think Mike Elko is as first class a dude as there is in this profession. I think had he had a couple of incredible players at Duke that he thought could help him, A&M win games big, coming over, I think he would have done it. Yeah. Riley Leonard did want to come to A&M. He went to Notre Dame. I think that would have pained Elko. I'd love to ask Elko. I'm not sure, but, would they have taken Riley Leonard had they not had Connor Wigman last year? I kind of think they would have, unless his price was too high. But, like, if you thought that quarterback would help you go 10-2 versus 7-5 in your first year. So I don't forget about that even comparison. I don't hold Lane to a lower standard because of that. But that's my reasoning to say, you're out of here, dude. You're working for a conference rival. Look, you're not sitting in this building through this playoff thing and building your name and being the center of all this media attention for the next month or two.
I said it during Schloss. I'm going to keep it the same with Lane. To me, it's very selfish to entertain anything else when your team has a chance to win a national championship. That's just the way I look at it, how I would like to handle my situation. I understand. It doesn't make you a bad person for that. That's not who I'd want my kid to play for.
Yeah.
And that's just me.
What would you do if you were doing that and another job was contacting you regularly with a tantalizing offer?
Well, it happened. It happened with us.
Yeah.
Right? And I prayed on it, just like Lane says he did. And I went to my staff, or our staff at 13, and I said, this is what I want. Let's come up with a plan that works for everybody. and we had.
And you told me the whole time, like, hey,
if they don't want me to go, I'm not going to go.
Yeah.
If I don't have their blessing.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
So I have lived it. Not,
Sure.
not millions.
It's all relative, but it's
Yeah.
life experience. It's professional.
And I was not going to leave 13 by making enemies of those people who were so good to me.
Yeah.
And that was something that you and I talked about day one. So
Yeah.
I have lived it. So to me, that's how you handle things.
Yeah.
And if you have a chance to win a national championship, Schloss, Lane Kiffin, I don't care who. Your focus, your sole focus is until the end of the season. If that job is worth it, waiting for you afterwards, you talk about it then. But a real, not like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, like, oh, I'll talk about it. You know what I'm saying?
Or you take the job as soon as it's offered and you say, hey, I'm going.
Sorry, guys.
It's up to you. And that's essentially what he did, but he didn't do it till it didn't happen till Sunday, and it felt like it didn't happen until they made it happen.
Right.
Or he would have drug it out more. And I think we all know he made up in his head long before this. So all this bullshit that everybody was trying to sell you on Lane Kiffin, and you know I sat here and I always said, I don't buy it. It's fake. Oh, he's at peace. He's found his chi. I don't give a rat's ass that Lane Kiffin's doing hot yoga in Oxford. I'm sure the hot yoga scene in Baton Rouge probably sucks. I mean, otherwise he probably should go coach at SMU if that's what's most important to him. But just don't tell me that Lane Kiffin's doing yoga and that's why, he's found his center, he's found his level set in Oxford, and his family's there, and he's not going anywhere. That was such a naive, and it feels wrong when you see the SEC and national media pushing, like buying into such stupidity and pushing it on us as if it was true. And everyone, especially the folks in Oxford, knew that's not the case. As soon as a job like this became available, he was taking it. And that's fine too. He should take LSU over Ole Miss. Billy Gillispie should have taken Kentucky basketball over A&M.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work.
See, I don't know about should. I understand if you're
should by
the level
what
of
the
perception
book says. Yeah.
Yeah. To me, should is where are you going to be the most happy?
And maybe he wasn't. Maybe he doesn't. He thinks like this Oxford.
But that puff piece.
But
he was
again,
so happy.
That's because people were buying it. I don't think that was true. I think he wants to go win championships and make a ton of money and be the rock star of the sport.
And he will.
And he will.
I don't
blame him for that.
Yeah.
I don't like the way he handled it.
Me neither. So back to the seedings.
Playoffs. Yeah.
If they're 5, probably Tulane-ish. I'm just basing this on what ESPN has. If they're 6, the ACC champion.
Yep.
If there's 7, it has Alabama right now at 10. We'll see where that is. It could very easily, could it be Notre Dame? Could be.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they're going to drop to 8. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
That would be the Notre Dame game. So
the 8 is, I think, 8 is what you really want to avoid 8, because then you're looking at what?
You're looking at Notre Dame /
Ohio State.
Ohio State.
You don't want that one. And we say that it could be Indiana, but I think
Indiana's more tested. Although I didn't watch much of the Ohio State Michigan game yesterday because I'm mad at college football right now.
I watched it,
but I mean they kicked some butt.
Yeah, I think I'm laughing at kick some butt. Reminded me of like something somebody would say in like eighth grade, like Little League baseball, like you're all in there. Let's go kick some butt.
Yeah, coach, let's go.
You sound like a Little League coach there. So I think let's just talk. 5 is pretty. To me, 5 is pretty
ideal.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna go group of 5.
And Summerall will probably be coaching still. Isn't that the plan? He's supposed to coach Tulane.
Group of 5 at home, and it doesn't have to be Tulane, right? They could lose their championship game to North Tech. Is it North Tech? Who do they play? Yeah.
North Tech.
Okay, so group of 5, then the 4, which
Texas Tech.
It could be, or it could be Indiana. I mean, some other things would have to happen.
I mean, they're 11-1.
If you're Yeah, but they're 11-1 now.
Without the coach.
How much are you going to hold that again? If they did that to Florida State, and by the way, for so many reasons, thank God Marcel Reed wasn't seriously injured on that play. We didn't even talk about that. That was such a moment of just like, this can't happen. Not to this team, not to this kid, not to that family. Not like it just can't go down like this. This season, non-contact injury, driving, for a touchdown. No way, right? No chance. I was so happy when I look up and he's like sprinting by me, cutting, and I'm like, oh my God, like miracle healer here. But imagine what they would have done to A&M. They might have dropped him out.
You think so?
No, but I mean,
they
dropped Florida State out, but it was a 4-team playoff. But I'm just saying, they would have dropped them like, I bet they wouldn't have hosted a playoff game.
Yeah, you're right.
And I just think with Ole Miss, like, how do you treat this if you're the committee? It's a huge freaking difference.
Yep.
It's massive. So that might actually, we'll see, that might help A&M. And if they go on this soapbox, like, we're not going to punish, you're ceding to what you think are the best teams in the playoff based on the available information. And the information available to you is that this head coach that's considered one of the best in the sport is not coaching him anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's the shock value of, boom, he's not doing it. And everyone knows he's the play caller and the offensive mind behind it. I know there's Weiss, but he is. So it'll be interesting. That would certainly be A&M and Oregon.
Weiss is going with him, though, right?
Yeah.
The whole staff.
A&M and, well, not all we say, whoever gets on the plane with me.
Mm-hmm.
Ole Miss and Oregon and A&M are the three teams, or Oregon and A&M are the two, I think, that would be most affected by what if something weird were to happen with Ole Miss's seeding. That said, if they're 6, which is what we kind of lean towards thinking, then you're definitely going ACC champ, Duke or Virginia.
That would be
Duke.
I'm just thinking because of Elko. The connection, that would just be interesting.
Interesting. Like, you don't assume you're going to beat any of these teams, by the way.
Right.
You just not
We've
be
learned
stupid
that.
here.
Yep.
But it is still a better matchup than the alternatives. And then you're in that 3 game. That's a wild one, because here's who could be in that. So it's kind of we don't want to waste too much time on it.
Because we're still all guessing.
I think it's likely that would be
the Big Ten loser.
Indiana. Likely, right?
Mm-hmm.
You might get, this is the point of not worrying too much. You might get that 6 and play Ohio State. Yeah. Georgia wins impressively. Indiana beats Ohio State. Imagine you're 6. Oh, and now you get to go to the Rose Bowl and play Ohio State. Still pretty cool. You get by your home game, but not ideal. I think it's probably like Indiana or Tech. Probably. So
Cotton Bowl or
yeah, that's, again, A&M would not be favored against Indiana. Texas Tech, I think both of those games on paper, like, hey, flip a coin for both of them. But, again, I think better than if you played Ohio State or Georgia. Ohio State all the way out in California in the Rose Bowl, or Georgia down in the South in the Sugar. So 6 seed would feel like you got a good situation. 7, I think you're playing OU or a 3-loss Bama. I think Notre Dame sits ahead of both of those in that situation. 7, I think you're playing one of them, and then you're getting that 2. So then you're kind of hoping for some kind of upset.
Right.
Then you're probably hoping for Ohio State to lose. Okay, I'll take maybe Georgia in the Sugar over Ohio. So it really, it's hard to tell, but 6 feels most likely, and I wouldn't hate it. 7, I wouldn't rule 7 out. I think they would be getting kind of screwed over on that. Here's an interesting one. What if Alabama beats Georgia? You could be 8. I don't think they will. They should, in no world should they be. But if Georgia doesn't fall behind you and Bama jumps up, Bama, Georgia, Ohio State, Indiana, Tech, Oregon, Ole Miss, A&M.
Well,
I don't think that will happen.
In
That would
world,
be
though,
total bullshit if they dropped them from 3 to 8, going 11-1, and losing on the road to a team that's going to probably finish in your playoff poll, like top 13.
In that world, Georgia's 10-2. Either Ohio State or Indiana's got one loss. Like, again, like the loser of that game, who have they beat? I understand that Indiana beat Oregon. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
And now you've got Ohio State with victories over Texas. I guess Washington, if you want to give them credit, and now the Michigan game. But I don't know. I'm seeing it through an A&M perspective, and I think they should not drop in that scenario.
No. So I think that's the other thing is the argument is like there's no silver line. I'm not even gonna use that word when you lose to Texas. It's doom and gloom we're still within 48 hours of it. It's 48 hours of doom and gloom. If there's a silver lining that people talked about, and my thing was I'd much rather beat them and go to the SEC title game. This team needs to get healthy, and I think they need to get right with a win, and that you can get one, hopefully in a playoff game at your house. And Le'Veon Moss coming back will be massive.
You think he was close this week?
Yeah, and I think you would have had to make a decision for an SEC title game. Yeah. This playoff game's 3 weeks from now. It's literally 3 weeks. He doesn't have to even start game week practicing for 2 weeks. I'm okay with it. Le'Veon coming back is a game changer. Scooby Williams coming back will help a tremendous amount. And Craver had been banged up. His effectiveness hasn't been what it's been. Concepcion, what game was it where he was limping a little bit? Was it, it was one of those games he came up gimpy and back and forth. And then, and even Saturday I saw him limp past me off the field. Like, Ashton Bethel Roman was limping pretty significantly going off the field, after that game. Obviously Marcel's injured. Not I wouldn't say injured, he's hurt. Those guys getting time off, and I think this team is so speed oriented on offense. You look at Concepcion, Craver, Bethel Roman, Marcel. They are a speed team, and it's not even so much about they all have to get healthy, and they will be able to now, but also rested this time of year. So I think in that way it's a nice setup, because again I think when they're rested and at full speed they give real problems to defenses, and then again getting Moss and Owens back is significant on both sides of the ball.
All right, Billy. Tomorrow on the show.
Fun one?
Yeah.
That was fun. I mean, here's what's funny. We did this show a year ago at this time, and we were miserable after that loss.
Yeah.
I was pissed off after that loss, during that loss on Friday night. Pissed off the next day. Like you said, I almost didn't want to watch a lot of college football, but I did. It just feels so much different because it is a season. It is not a game. It is the biggest game, but it's not anymore. Because now every game they play is bigger than that one.
Yep.
It is. I know it doesn't feel that way walking around. It's not going to feel that way for me at 5 o'clock recording this podcast, but the games coming up are bigger. Whether that's Virginia or Duke or OU or Alabama, certainly those last two would start to make it feel a lot bigger. But it's a playoff game at Kyle Field is bigger. A playoff game in the Cotton, Sugar, Rose, or Orange is bigger. If you advance further and you're in a national semifinal, it's much bigger, and on and on. So everything they do from here on out does matter more.
Yeah.
It does. I know it didn't feel that way, and they've got to figure out, they've got to beat Texas. A&M does, Elko does. It's not like this 10-game losing streak. It's 3 overall, but it's 0-2 in the SEC. They've kept you out of the SEC title game twice. They've celebrated on your field. They celebrated on their field. They protected their house. You didn't protect your house. All of these things, like, you should be pissed off. You should circle that game. But more than that, you should play better against Texas than you have the last 2 games. That should be the ultimate lesson. But again, that is 1 game. It is 1 loss in a 12-game season, regular season, and you have done more than anyone expected. And now you get a chance to go to the college football playoff, and it, my friend, is a wide open one.
Billy, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow on TexAgs Live.
All right.
The hardest part? Sitting still.